Good morning/afternoon, everyone. Today, I bring to you something truly surprising, mysterious, and even a little unsettling. For centuries, Nostradamus, the legendary 16th century French astrologer and seer, has fascinated the world with his cryptic prophecies. From world wars to natural disasters, many believe his quatrains have eerily predicted major events across history. But here's something not many people know. Hidden between his verses are predictions that seem to connect to something as personal and close to home as dogs. Yes, you heard it right. Our loyal four-legged companions. You may think, how can Nostradamus, writing in the 1500s, predict something about pets in modern households? But remember, his prophecies were full of symbolic language and metaphors. Today, let's decode some of these shocking lines and see what they could mean for people who have dogs at home. One of the most intriguing and mysterious references in Nostradamus' prophecies is what scholars and interpreters often call the prophecy of the faithful guardian. In several quatrains, Nostradamus mentions figures described as silent watchers, loyal beasts, and guardians of the hearth, while he never directly used the modern word dog. The poetic and metaphorical language unmistakably draws a picture of a loyal, domestic animal living alongside humans, always alert and protective. Many believe that Nostradamus was alluding to dogs as spiritual and physical guardians in times of human vulnerability. According to these interpretations, when the world would fall into chaos, whether through natural disasters, wars, diseases, or moral decline, those who kept dogs at home would unknowingly benefit from a layer of divine or cosmic protection. The idea here is not that dogs would fight off enemies physically, though they often do that too, but that their very presence would act as a shield, creating an energy field of safety around their human family. Historically, dogs have always been viewed as protectors. From ancient times, people relied on dogs to guard their homes, watch over their livestock, and alert them to intruders. But Nostradamus' writings suggest something deeper, that dogs possess a kind of sixth sense, an instinctive awareness of dangers invisible to the human eye. His quatrains seem to suggest that during moments of impending disaster, when societal structures fail, or when unseen forces loom large, those with dogs would receive unspoken warnings. Their dogs would bark without reason, refuse to enter certain spaces, or show signs of extreme anxiety, signaling that something terrible was about to unfold. Furthermore, the concept of the faithful guardian speaks to more than just physical safety. Dogs have been known to prevent emotional breakdowns and psychological distress in their owners. They offer silent companionship during moments of fear, depression, and loneliness, an emotional defense mechanism that Nostradamus may have been referencing symbolically. Imagine moments when fear grips a household, power outages, political unrest, or natural calamities, and amidst all this, there's the dog, vigilant, watchful, restless, yet unwavering in loyalty. Some modern scholars have also drawn a connection between this prophecy and our current era, pointing out how the global increase in pet ownership, especially dogs, might itself be a fulfillment of Nostradamus' vision. In times when the world feels more chaotic and unpredictable than ever, millions of families across the globe are bringing dogs into their homes. Whether consciously or not, people are seeking that faithful guardian Nostradamus wrote about centuries ago. This prophecy paints a powerful image, a world in turmoil, but within every home that shelters a dog, a silent sentinel stands guard, ready to warn, protect, and comfort its human companions against forces both seen and unseen. In the cryptic language of Nostradamus, one of the most frequently debated and symbolically rich phrases refers to silent protectors that sense what humans cannot see. At first glance, this could appear to reference any number of entities, but many modern interpreters believe it speaks directly about dogs and their unique role as spiritual detectors. This interpretation connects deeply with global folklore, modern science, and first-hand experiences of countless dog owners who have witnessed their pets reacting to unseen forces. For centuries, cultures across the world, from ancient Egypt to indigenous tribes and even medieval Europe, have believed that dogs possess an enhanced ability to perceive supernatural energies, spirits, or otherworldly presences. This belief is not based on superstition alone. Even in today's world, many people share eerie stories of their dogs suddenly growling at empty corners, staring intensely at nothing, refusing to enter certain rooms, or howling at midnight with no apparent cause. Nostradamus' reference to beings that sense what the human eye cannot behold seems to capture this exact phenomenon. In spiritual terms, dogs are believed to have an open and unfiltered perception of energy fields around them. Unlike humans who often ignore or block out subtle vibrations and emotional energies, dogs remain attuned to every small shift in the environment. Their acute senses, combined with their emotional sensitivity, make them natural detectors of negative energy, be it from human conflict, environmental disturbances, or even paranormal presences. Further interpreting Nostradamus' words, some scholars suggest that his prophecy wasn't just about dogs noticing these energies, but acting as a protective buffer between their owners and unseen negative forces. Many spiritual practitioners today claim that dogs can absorb or repel bad energy. In fact, there's a growing belief that when dogs behave strangely, becoming restless, barking at night, or suddenly avoiding a particular area of the home, it's often a direct sign that the home's spiritual balance has been disturbed. There's also an emotional and psychological aspect to this. Dogs are often the first to sense when their owner's mood shifts. Without a word spoken, a dog will sense sadness, anxiety, or fear, responding with physical closeness, affection, and calming behavior. Nostradamus' descriptions of silent protectors seem to hint at this powerful emotional connection too. It suggests that dogs not only guard the physical and spiritual safety of their owners, but also serve as emotional shields, absorbing emotional turmoil, sensing depression, and providing intuitive support during emotionally charged moments. Modern science, too, has begun to explore this connection, with research suggesting that dogs can pick up on hormonal changes in humans, like spikes in cortisol or changes in body odor due to stress. While Nostradamus wouldn't have had scientific terminology for these phenomena, his symbolic language seems to align perfectly with what we now understand about the deep and unexplainable bond between dogs and their humans. Some even believe that certain dog breeds are more spiritually sensitive than others. Throughout history, certain dogs have been chosen for ceremonial, spiritual, or religious roles, ranging from temple guardians to companions for shamans. Nostradamus' lines could be a reflection of this historical role of dogs as sacred protectors, beings that stood at the intersection between the physical and the spiritual world. When we reflect on Nostradamus' mysterious warnings about unseen dangers and silent guardians, it becomes increasingly compelling to see dogs not just as pets, but as spiritual allies, protectors, and intuitive detectors of negative energy. One of the most fascinating and mysterious aspects of Nostradamus' prophecies lies in a little discussed quatrain that mentions creatures who know the illness of their master before the master himself feels it. This line, cloaked in the poetic ambiguity for which Nostradamus is famous, has been interpreted by some modern scholars as a reference to the incredible, almost supernatural ability of dogs to detect human illnesses before any clinical diagnosis is made. This interpretation aligns remarkably well with what scientific research and countless real-life stories have revealed about dogs in recent decades. Over the past few years, the medical community has documented an increasing number of cases where dogs have exhibited behaviors that led to the discovery of serious health conditions in their owners. There are documented cases where dogs repeatedly sniffed, pawed, or licked certain areas of their owner's body, drawing attention to spots later diagnosed with cancerous tumors. Dogs have been trained to detect lung cancer, breast cancer, and even skin cancer, often identifying the disease long before medical tests could confirm it. Nostradamus, writing in the 16th century, could never have known about modern pathology or diagnostic medicine, but the metaphorical language in his quatrains about illness, sensing creatures, has led many to speculate that he had an intuitive sense of this future discovery. Furthermore, dogs are now being widely used as medical alert animals for people suffering from diabetes, epilepsy, and even severe allergies. Dogs can detect drops in blood sugar levels or anticipate epileptic seizures minutes before they happen. This early warning gives people critical time to take preventive action, potentially saving their lives. Nostradamus' phrase about beings who sense illness before it blooms within the body seems eerily predictive of this modern reality. In addition to physical illnesses, many dogs display sensitivity to their owner's mental health as well. People suffering from anxiety, depression, or even post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, have reported how their dogs seem to anticipate panic attacks or episodes of emotional breakdown. Dogs might suddenly come close, sit next to their owner, offer physical touch, or display anxious behavior themselves just before their human starts experiencing distress. While Nostradamus wouldn't have had the terminology to describe psychological disorders as we understand them today, his writing suggests an awareness that animals could play a crucial role in warning and protecting humans from internal, invisible threats. What's even more fascinating is how modern research supports the theory that dogs process chemical changes in the human body. They can smell subtle changes in hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, both of which shift dramatically when someone is sick or emotionally distressed. This biological reality could be what Nostradamus metaphorically hinted at when he described creatures more aware of the body's betrayal than the body's owner. From cancer detection to seizure alerting and emotional crisis intervention, dogs have become living, breathing medical monitors in ways science is only beginning to fully understand. The idea that Nostradamus foresaw this relationship centuries before modern medicine even existed adds another layer of mystery and awe to his prophetic works. Some experts suggest that this aspect of the prophecy also serves as a reminder for dog owners today, that paying close attention to a dog's odd behavior could potentially reveal hidden health threats long before symptoms become obvious. If a dog suddenly becomes fixated on a particular area of your body or starts acting unusually anxious around you, it might not just be random behavior, it could be the early warning system Nostradamus wrote about, quietly activated within your loyal companion. Another striking and often overlooked section of Nostradamus' prophecies involves his references to the trembling earth, roaring skies, and creatures of loyalty breaking their silence before the chaos descends. Though written in the poetic, cryptic style typical of his quatrains, many modern interpreters have linked this particular verse to the uncanny ability of animals, especially dogs, to sense approaching natural disasters before any human-made technology or scientific instruments can. For centuries, people around the world have documented bizarre behavior in dogs' moments, hours, or even days before catastrophic natural events such as earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, and severe storms. From Japan to California, from India to Italy, there are countless reports of dogs pacing nervously, whining, barking uncontrollably, hiding under furniture, or even attempting to flee to higher ground just before disaster struck. Nostradamus, living long before the invention of seismographs or weather radars, may have observed or foreseen the reliance of humans on their animal companions as nature's most sensitive alarm systems. Modern science now provides some explanations for this behavior. Dogs possess acute senses of hearing, smell, and perception that far exceed those of humans. For instance, before an earthquake, seismic waves travel through the ground, and dogs may feel or hear these subtle vibrations long before people do. Similarly, changes in atmospheric pressure, static electricity, or the scent of ozone before a lightning storm can trigger anxious behavior in dogs. But while we now understand the mechanics, Nostradamus seemed to have foreseen that during times of great natural disturbance, it would be these very creatures that offered the first signals of warning. This insight is especially significant in the current era, where natural disasters appear to be increasing in frequency and intensity due to climate change. Nostradamus' verse can be seen as a timeless reminder that humans should remain deeply connected to the natural instincts of animals, especially dogs, who might sense impending danger before any alarms or emergency alerts go off. The idea isn't just poetic, it has practical survival implications. There are also emotional and psychological aspects to this warning. During such moments of crisis, when fear and panic can cloud human judgment, dogs not only sense the coming threat, but also often guide their owners towards safety. Stories abound of dogs leading families out of houses moments before earthquakes, or refusing to leave their owners' sides during severe storms, offering both physical and emotional protection. Beyond physical disasters like quakes and floods, some interpret Nostradamus' words about natural disorder to also include cosmic or environmental imbalances, solar flares, magnetic shifts, or even global pandemics. In each of these scenarios, dogs often display heightened awareness long before humans recognize the signs. Whether it's changes in behavior, appetite, sleep patterns, or emotional state, these animals respond to environmental cues invisible to the human eye. Furthermore, the bond between humans and dogs allows this natural sensitivity to be effectively communicated, often through barking, restlessness, or clingy behavior. According to the prophecy, the failure to heed such warnings could lead to unnecessary suffering or loss, making the role of dogs not just sentimental, but potentially life-saving. Nostradamus' cryptic foresight, when viewed through the lens of modern understanding, paints dogs not just as companions, but as living, breathing early warning systems for environmental disasters. Among the many mysterious lines scattered across Nostradamus' quatrains, there exists a particularly heartwarming and thought-provoking reference to companions who heal without words, bringing calm where there is mental storm. At first glance, this poetic phrase seems open to countless interpretations, but many modern analysts, especially those studying the psychological and emotional impact of animals on humans, believe Nostradamus was alluding to the emotional healing power of dogs. In today's world, we recognize dogs not only as pets or protectors, but as true emotional anchors. Animal-assisted therapy has become a well-respected branch of psychological treatment. Therapy dogs are now deployed in hospitals, nursing homes, schools, and disaster-stricken areas to provide comfort and reduce anxiety, fear, and loneliness. Soldiers suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD), children with autism, individuals battling depression, and patients in palliative care all experience first-hand the soothing power of canine companionship. But what makes this connection to Nostradamus so remarkable is the timing of his writings. Centuries before terms like mental health, psychological trauma, or emotional therapy were even conceived, Nostradamus somehow captured the essence of this healing relationship. His phrase about silent companions who heal speaks to the nonverbal, intuitive way dogs connect with human emotions. Dogs don't need to speak to understand when their owners are stressed, grieving, or emotionally broken. Their response is instinctual. They sit close, offer a paw, lean in for a cuddle, or simply remain present, creating a calming, grounding energy. Scientific studies have shown that petting a dog can lower cortisol levels, the hormone responsible for stress, and increase the production of serotonin and dopamine, chemicals associated with happiness and emotional stability. Therapy sessions that involve dogs often help patients open up emotionally, allowing them to process trauma more effectively. Nostradamus' writings suggest he foresaw a future where these wordless healers would play a critical role in calming humanity's mental storms. Moreover, during times of social isolation and loneliness, two emotional states that have become more prevalent in the modern digital age, the companionship of dogs has proven life-changing. People suffering from depression often cite their dog as the single most important reason they got out of bed, went for a walk, or even sought help. Nostradamus may not have described this in clinical terms, but his metaphorical language reflects a clear understanding that humans would increasingly depend on these animals for emotional and psychological well-being. Another fascinating aspect of this prophecy is how dogs appear to sense, not just present emotions, but impending emotional crises. There are countless documented instances where dogs showed signs of distress or intense affection shortly before their owners experienced panic attacks, emotional breakdowns, or even suicidal thoughts. It's as though dogs act as living emotional barometers, sensing turbulence before it erupts, and positioning themselves to offer immediate comfort. This interpretation of Nostradamus' quatrains becomes even more relevant when considering the growing global recognition of emotional support animals (ESSs). In many countries today, laws now protect the rights of individuals to have their emotional support dogs accompany them on flights, in housing, and in public places. This rise of ESA has led some scholars to suggest that Nostradamus' foresight was not just about personal emotional healing, but also about a societal shift towards officially recognizing and integrating animals, especially dogs, into the field of mental health care. In spiritual contexts, some even believe that dogs are sent to specific people at specific times, almost as if by cosmic design, to aid them through periods of grief, anxiety, or emotional transition. The idea that dogs come into our lives exactly when we need them the most ties back to Nostradamus' notion of them being silent healers, assigned a sacred purpose. Another fascinating layer of Nostradamus' prophecies is found in the lines where he speaks of the beast that follows man, guiding him from the shadows into the light. Though this phrase is wrapped in mystery and metaphor, many modern-day interpreters believe this is a symbolic reference to dogs acting as agents of personal transformation, renewal, and new beginnings for their human companions. This interpretation aligns perfectly with countless real-life experiences where the arrival of a dog into someone's life marks the start of a profound, positive change. Throughout history, dogs have often entered people's lives during moments of great transition, after personal loss, heartbreak, a major move, or even in the aftermath of trauma. It's as if life sends these creatures to guide individuals from periods of emotional darkness into phases of healing, hope, and rejuvenation. Nostradamus' prophecy seems to capture this exact phenomenon. His language, rich in symbolism, hints that dogs may serve as catalysts for spiritual and emotional rebirth. Psychologically, the introduction of a dog into someone's life dramatically alters daily routines and priorities. People who were previously sedentary or isolated are suddenly encouraged to go outdoors, engage with nature, socialize with other dog owners, and establish healthy routines. These small lifestyle shifts often lead to larger emotional and mental transformations. People report that their dogs help pull them out of depression, motivate them to exercise, and even help them rebuild social connections that had been lost. For individuals struggling with identity, purpose, or motivation, a dog can represent a fresh start. The responsibility of caring for another living being often reignites a sense of purpose and commitment to life. This aligns deeply with Nostradamus' theme of emerging from the shadows into the light, as owning and caring for a dog can metaphorically represent stepping out of personal darkness. There are also spiritual interpretations of this prophecy. Some cultures believe that dogs are spiritual guides assigned to humans during key phases of life. Whether we realize it or not, these animals could be drawn to us for reasons beyond coincidence. Nostradamus' poetic vision seems to suggest that their arrival in our lives is part of a greater, unseen plan, a cosmic intervention designed to help us find our way back to happiness, stability, and emotional clarity. The pattern is universal. A widow grieving the loss of a spouse finds unexpected comfort in adopting a dog from a shelter. A lonely elderly person who rarely left home suddenly finds new joy in daily walks with their canine companion. A young person battling mental illness finds hope and accountability in the daily responsibility of feeding and caring for their pet. In all these cases, the dog becomes the pivotal force that shifts the person's trajectory from despair to renewal. Moreover, even in mythology and ancient folklore, dogs have often been portrayed as bridge creatures, guardians who guide souls from one realm to another, or protectors who help humans navigate through transitions, both physical and emotional. Nostradamus' reference to being guided from shadows fits perfectly within this long-standing archetype. In today's world, where stress, loneliness, and life transitions are more common than ever, the role of dogs as companions signaling new beginnings has become more relevant. Many people share stories of how their lives improved in unforeseen ways after getting a dog. New relationships blossomed, career changes occurred, or long overdue personal healing finally began. Nostradamus' vision seems to echo across centuries, reminding us that sometimes the universe sends help in the form of four-legged, tail-wagging messengers of change. Among Nostradamus' most unsettling and enigmatic quatrains are those that reference the final days, the great end, and the last trials of mankind. His language in these quatrains is often dark, filled with apocalyptic imagery, raging storms, falling stars, widespread suffering, and moments when humanity faces its greatest tests. Yet, within this somber narrative, Nostradamus leaves curious references to loyal beasts who refuse to abandon man, even in his final hour. This phrase, when examined closely, has led many modern interpreters to believe that he was speaking of dogs, our unwavering companions, who would stand by humanity's side even as the world crumbles. The idea that dogs would remain with humans in their most desperate, hopeless moments aligns deeply with everything history and human experience tell us about canine loyalty. Time and again, dogs have demonstrated an unmatched emotional bond with their owners, staying beside them in hospital beds, during natural disasters, and even at grave sites long after their human has passed. Nostradamus' words seem to capture this timeless image of loyalty at its peak. The dog refusing to leave, standing guard, offering comfort when there's nothing left. Many dog owners and animal behaviorists have documented heartbreaking moments when dogs sensed the approaching death of their humans, refusing food, lying next to them for days, or offering constant physical closeness as if aware that time was short. Nostradamus' prophetic line could be seen as a recognition of this instinctual connection, highlighting that in times when human relationships may falter, and the world itself might descend into chaos, the bond between a dog and its owner remains unbroken. Furthermore, when interpreting the end times prophecies, some believe Nostradamus wasn't necessarily talking about a global apocalypse, but rather personal end times, moments of great personal trial, loss, grief, or even the end of one's life journey. In these deeply emotional and vulnerable times, dogs are often the last and most faithful companions people have. Stories of dogs lying at the bedside of dying owners, following ambulances, or returning to places where their owners once lived continue to circulate across cultures and generations. From a spiritual perspective, many traditions believe that dogs act as soul guides during death transitions. In ancient Egyptian mythology, Anubis, the jackal, headed god, guided souls to the afterlife. In Greek mythology, the three-headed dog Cerberus stood at the gates of the underworld, acting as a guardian of spiritual realms. Some spiritualists today believe that when a person's time comes, their dog serves as an emotional and energetic guide, offering peace, reducing fear, and helping their human transition with love and dignity. Moreover, Nostradamus' prophecy might be seen as a broader metaphor for loyalty and unconditional love. As societies become more fast-paced, materialistic, and divided, many people find that the most genuine, unwavering love they receive comes from their pets. In times when human relationships are fractured by war, displacement, illness, or disaster, dogs provide an emotional anchor, grounding their owners with their presence, affection, and steadfast loyalty. Even during mass tragedies like natural disasters or armed conflicts, news outlets often report on dogs who refuse to leave the rubble where their owners were last seen, waiting for days or even weeks. There's an undeniable emotional power in these stories that mirror the very image Nostradamus painted of beasts of loyalty who stay when all else falls away. From a psychological point of view, the presence of a dog during a person's final days can offer immense comfort. Petting a dog reduces fear, provides physical warmth, and reminds individuals that they are loved, right up until their last breath. The unconditional presence of a dog in moments of crisis fulfills a deep human need for connection, especially when facing mortality. Nostradamus' prophetic references to such loyalty suggest that in the most severe tests of life, whether personal endings or global cataclysms, those who have dogs by their side may experience a form of emotional solace, a final source of love and comfort when everything else fades. In conclusion, whether you believe in the mystical prophecies of Nostradamus or view them as poetic reflections of human life, one thing is undeniable. Dogs have always held an extraordinary place in our hearts, our homes, and perhaps even in the grand story of our destiny. From being our protectors in times of danger to acting as emotional healers, health detectors, and loyal companions during life's darkest moments, their role seems far more profound than mere coincidence. Perhaps Nostradamus, in his cryptic verses, was reminding us of a timeless truth, one that transcends centuries, cultures, and even scientific understanding. That sometimes the greatest guardians, healers, and companions don't come dressed in armor or carrying weapons. They come with wagging tails, soft eyes, and an unbreakable bond of loyalty and love. So the next time your dog barks at the night sky, sits beside you when you're feeling down, or simply looks at you with eyes full of trust, pause for a moment. Maybe, just maybe, you're experiencing the living proof of a prophecy written long ago. Thank you